The decision to split the $3 million inheritance between my mother and me wasn't made lightly. It came after deep reflection, especially in the wake of my father's funeral, a time when grief clouded my every thought, yet certain realizations became painfully clear. The turning point came when Robert, without so much as a word to me, rifled through the inheritance documents as if they were his to examine. He barely glanced in my direction before making a smug remark. "Kelly, don't be too greedy," he said with a smirk, his eyes gleaming with something unsettling, an anticipation that made my stomach twist. "Oh, finally, I can quit my job. I have to thank that doddering old man for this." For a moment, I thought I misheard him. "Doddering old man?" I repeated, my voice instinctively rising. "Are you talking about my father?" Robert didn't bother acknowledging my anger. Instead, he and his mother immediately launched into an excited discussion about their plans, talking about luxury cars, shopping sprees, and vacations as if they had won the lottery, as if the money had fallen into their laps through sheer luck rather than through my father's hard-earned legacy. Something inside me snapped. I had spent years in this marriage feeling increasingly trapped, doing all the household chores, managing finances, and enduring the constant demands of my mother-in-law. I had asked for financial help before, but Robert always brushed me off, saying money was tight. Now, suddenly, he saw a windfall, and his true nature was laid bare before me, and to top it all off, he insulted my father, the man who had given me everything, who had loved me unconditionally. I could feel my blood boiling, but I knew better than to lash out. Instead, I forced a smile, hiding my rage beneath a mask of calm. "Sure," I said lightly, though my hands trembled at my sides. "Feel free to use the money as you and your mother please." At that moment, I made my decision. My name is Kelly Cohen, and I am a 38-year-old housewife, but I wasn't always just a housewife. I was born into a loving family, an only child raised by two dedicated doctors who owned a well-respected clinic in our hometown. Though my parents had always hoped I would follow in their footsteps, they supported me when I chose a different path. Instead of becoming a doctor, I pursued a degree in pharmacy and landed a promising job at a major pharmaceutical company. For a long time, my life felt stable. Then, everything changed. 10 years ago, my mother died unexpectedly in an accident. Her sudden death shattered our small family, leaving my father and me to pick up the pieces of our grief. It was during this time that Robert entered my life. He had been a friend of a friend, and in my darkest moments, he was there, offering comfort, making me laugh, reminding me that life could move forward. 2 years after my mother's passing, he proposed. Robert wasn't rich. He was an ordinary salaryman working in the food and beverage industry. I earned significantly more than him, but that didn't matter to me. I believed in love, in partnership, in the idea that we could build a life together, regardless of financial disparity. When I told my father about the engagement, his response was warm and heartfelt. "I've heard how Robert has been by your side, Kelly," he said, his eyes, usually filled with the weight of loss, softened for the first time in years. He turned to Robert, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you for supporting my daughter. Please continue to take care of her." Robert straightened his posture, putting on his most earnest expression. "I will make her happy," he promised. At that moment, standing beside him, I believed it. A week later, we visited Robert's family home to announce our engagement. His mother greeted me with a critical gaze, her heavily made-up face barely masking her disapproval. She had been divorced for years, and her demeanor exuded a certain sharpness, an unfiltered bluntness that immediately put me on edge. "Marriage, huh?" she mused, scrutinizing me with a skeptical smirk. "So, you're Robert's choice. Isn't she a bit plain for you? And older, too, wouldn't a younger, prettier girl be a better option?" Her words struck like a slap, but before I could react, Robert stepped in, not to defend me, but to justify his decision in a way I hadn't expected. "Mom, you know M Pharmaceuticals, right?" he said smoothly. "Kelly works there. Her father is a doctor and owns his own clinic." I had expected him to speak about our love, about the qualities that made me special to him. Instead, he highlighted my job and my father's wealth. His mother's expression changed in an instant. "Oh, Robert, you should have told me such important things earlier," she gushed, her skepticism vanishing. "That changes everything. Nice to meet you, Kelly, thank you." Her sudden shift unsettled me, but I brushed it off. I was in love. We were going to be happy. After we married, reality set in quickly. My father had given me a lavish apartment in New York City as a wedding gift, a place I had envisioned as the foundation of our shared future. But soon, I realized that living with Robert wasn't going to be as harmonious as I had hoped. Robert had never lived alone before marriage. He didn't know how to cook, how to use a washing machine, or even how to pick up after himself. He left his garbage lying around, assuming I would take care of it. In the first year of marriage, I excused it. I was patient, I was understanding, but as the years passed, my exhaustion grew. When I finally gathered the courage to ask him to share the household responsibilities, his response was dismissive. "I work too," he said, shrugging. "You're better at these things than I am. It just makes sense for you to handle them." His indifference crushed me. Then, there was his mother. For Mother's Day, I carefully picked out a beautiful, high-quality scarf as a gift. I thought it was a thoughtful gesture, a token of appreciation, but when she received it, she called me directly, her voice laced with displeasure. "What is this?" she scoffed. "It's not even from a famous brand. You expect me to wear some no-name scarf? I only accept luxury brands." I was stunned. When I told Robert, hoping for support, he simply shrugged. "She has her preferences," he said. "Just buy her what she wants next time." So, I did. From then on, we gave her cash, just as she demanded. By our 5th year of marriage, she began visiting frequently, always with an excuse to ask for money, and Robert always complied, no matter our own financial struggles. I endured it all, because I loved him, because I wanted to believe that our relationship was built on something deeper than convenience. Then, my father fell ill, terminal cancer. In his final months, I spent every moment I could at his bedside, cherishing the time we had left. Robert barely noticed my absence. He visited my father only once. One day, as I sat by my father's hospital bed, he looked at me with quiet understanding. "Kelly, how is your marriage with Robert?" I couldn't answer. "Kelly," he said gently, taking my hand in his, "you don't have to endure. Think about your happiness." 3 months later, he was gone. And the day after the funeral, I received a call from a lawyer. That was the moment everything changed. I was supposed to receive it without permission, Robert stated nonchalantly, his tone devoid of any concern for my feelings. "Kelly, don't be too greedy." His words sent a wave of disbelief through me, but I masked my emotions behind a calm facade. "Oh, now I can finally quit my job. I have to thank the doddering old man for this," he continued, his voice laced with mock gratitude. My breath hitched. "Doddering old man? Are you talking about my father?" The words slipped from my lips before I could stop them. Robert didn't seem to notice my reaction, nor did my mother-in-law, who sat beside him with an eager gleam in her eyes. "Well, anyway, let's proceed with the inheritance process and get the money into our joint account as soon as possible." Ignoring my confusion over the situation, Robert and his mother eagerly chattered about their future plans, buying a luxury car, indulging in shopping sprees, and living without a care in the world. At that moment, I could no longer contain my emotions. I had endured too much, being burdened with endless household chores, constantly having to ask for money, and now, to top it all off, listening to them insult my father. It was unbearable. Forcing a smile, I spoke in a measured tone. "Of course, use the money however you and my mother-in-law see fit, as you wish." Robert's mother beamed at my apparent compliance. "That's the spirit, Kelly," quick to agree, "just how I like it. Now, make sure you keep working hard and earning money. I don't want our savings to decrease, so keep at it." I simply nodded, pretending to listen to her selfish demands while my mind raced with thoughts of escape. In the following weeks, Robert and his mother lived as though they had completely lost their minds. Robert wasted no time quitting his job, and his mother practically moved into our home. Every morning, they would leave with excitement in their eyes and return in the evening laden with shopping bags from high-end stores. The 3-star restaurant we tried today was disappointing, Robert mused one evening, reclining on the couch without a care. "Yes, quite underwhelming for people as refined as us," his mother agreed, as if they had suddenly transformed into elite socialites. Meanwhile, I became nothing more than a maid to them. Every chore fell on my shoulders, and their entitlement knew no bounds. Robert assumed my father's inheritance would arrive immediately, and he withdrew money from our joint account with reckless abandon. My hard-earned savings, $100,000, began to dwindle at an alarming rate. When I confronted him about their excessive spending, Robert merely laughed. "What are you talking about? Isn't $3 million coming soon? This is nothing in comparison." I issued a final warning. "I've already stopped the process." But Robert, dismissive as always, paid me no mind. Then, a month later, without so much as consulting me, Robert and his mother jetted off to Hawaii for an extravagant vacation. I wasn't invited. Instead, I was left alone, abandoned in my own home. Watching them leave, I knew it was time to take action. A week passed. I was enjoying the newfound peace in my home when an urgent knock rattled the front door. Curious, I glanced at the intercom monitor and found Robert and his mother standing outside, both clad in tacky aloha shirts, their expressions twisted with frustration. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice cool and detached. Robert's anger flared. "What are you even talking about? Why won't the door open?" A smirk tugged at my lips. "Oh, I changed the locks, that's why." "What? Why would you do that? Open the door. Let's discuss this calmly at the nearby cafe." "Go ahead, I'll join you shortly." After some futile shouting, Robert and his mother realized they had no choice but to leave for the cafe. Only once they were gone did I make my way there. When I arrived, they were already seated, their fury evident in their tense postures. "Hey, what is this nonsense? Give us the new keys right now," Robert demanded. I placed a piece of paper in front of him. "There's no need for that. You both need to leave the house permanently. This is a divorce petition." Robert's jaw dropped, his mother's face twisted in disbelief. "Kelly, why are you doing this?" I folded my arms, my gaze unwavering. "You've both been spending recklessly every day. Are you sure your finances are in order?" "Of course," Robert scoffed, pulling out his phone. "Look, there should still be at least $50,000 in our joint account. Let me show you." As he checked the banking app, his smug expression evaporated, replaced by sheer panic. What? Why is the money gone?" His mother snatched her phone, her confusion mirroring his. I leaned back, savoring their distress. "I moved that $50,000 to my personal account. It's my rightful share of the marital assets." "What? You can't do that," Robert raged before a sudden smirk crossed his face. "Fine, I'll divorce you, but hand over the inheritance you got from your dad. Property acquired during a marriage is split 50-50, isn't it?" I arched an eyebrow. "You might be misunderstanding something. The inheritance I received from my father isn't considered marital property." Robert's face went blank. Then, as if desperate for confirmation, he frantically searched online. "It says here, property inherited by one spouse from a parent is considered separate property and not subject to division in a divorce." His mother gasped. "No, that can't be true." I shrugged. "Check for yourself." As realization sank in, Robert's bravado crumbled. "Kelly, please, don't divorce me. I have no job, no money. How am I supposed to survive?" I remained firm. "Take responsibility for your actions, Robert. I will never forget how you and your mother treated me. The divorce is happening, whether you like it or not." Faced with my unwavering stance, Robert and his mother shrank back, their arrogance dissolving into pitiful whimpers. I walked out of the cafe without looking back. The divorce proceedings went smoothly. The court recognized the $50,000 I had moved as part of my rightful share, and eventually, I forced Robert and his mother out of my house. Robert, having squandered everything, found himself drowning in debt from unpaid luxury expenses. He and his mother now lived in a dilapidated apartment, struggling to make ends meet. As for me, I sold the condo and moved into the apartment my father had left me. I continued working, but thanks to my inheritance, I no longer worried about finances. With my father's memory in my heart, I embraced a new chapter of my life, one where I valued myself, prioritized my happiness, and lived in peace.